What's up, guys? I'm Mike from StockedUp, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. Tom isn't with us today. He's out of town, but we still have a lot of great information to cover in today's video. We had a kind of crazy day in the market. We saw a lot of volatility, and we do have some pretty important news to cover. If you haven't heard already, but there is a giant ship blocking the Suez Canal, and that's kind of putting a dent in global trade. So we're going to cover that a little bit. There's normally about 50 ships that pass through this canal every day, and with the ship blocking this canal, it's kind of affecting some things in the stock market, so we're going to cover that. Also, we have some news with Pfizer's trial, and then we also have some news with oil, and just a lot of other good setups in the market right now. At the end of the video, we have a $1.2 million trade for next Friday. It's a pretty good one, so make sure to stick around for that. And if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe. But with that being said, we're going to get right into today's news. So the first and obviously most important news is how there is a giant ship blocking the Suez Canal. Like I said, this is halting global trade. 150 ships are waiting to pass through this canal right now. There's normally about 50 ships that pass through this canal every single day. And the scary part is some people are saying that it can take a couple weeks to actually kind of, get this ship out of the canal to like to unblock it, you can say. So that's not good news. And what was pretty interesting is we saw crude oil have an amazing day yesterday, and it seemed like because obviously a lot of oil gets exported through that canal, so if ships can't pass through it, there would be less supply. So it seems like that made crude oil pop yesterday, but then it came right back down today because of increasing lockdowns in Europe especially. So that's not good news. Especially Germany and France, there was some bad lockdown news, and the oil sector definitely didn't like that. So we did see oil kind of reverse. It had a ton of momentum yesterday, but it just completely reversed today, which was not the best sign to see. And we also have some things to cover with Pfizer. So I really like Pfizer right now, but it's just one of those tricky stocks. It is a value stock, so it moves very slowly, and it's just kind of difficult to trade in the short term because it's kind of all over the place. We can see in the past 5 days, it pops up, comes down, pops up, comes down. It's just like, back and forth, back and forth. So I really like it over the next couple months, but for the short term, it's kind of hard to trade. But to the news that they had, basically CNBC reported that Pfizer began their COVID vaccine trial on infants and young kids. And it seemed like that helped the stock a little bit today. I saw some unusual options activity with this stock. I think it was the January 2023 expirations, and I think it was the 37 strike calls. Yep, this is the one. So I saw a lot of smart money being put in these calls on March 10th, and they're still holding those calls. So definitely have your eyes on Pfizer. It looks like it can be a good potential swing maybe for like the next couple weeks or maybe even the next couple months. These options have a ton of time, and the options are about $1.50 out of the money, so just keep your eye on that. And like I said, with oil, we saw that how oil kind of reversed today on the negative or the bad lockdown news in Europe. So just keep your eyes on that. And one other thing I wanted to point out is CCIV. So this is Lucid Motors, and they bounced off a pretty good support today, actually. So if we go to the 30-day 1-hour chart, they have a pretty good support right at like $21. You can say like $20.50. And they are bouncing off that. They had a pretty strong close today, which is great to see. So I'm just going to have my eyes on Pfizer for next week and maybe even like the next 2 or 3 weeks. I'm going to have my eyes on CCIV for the next week and next 2 to 3 weeks. I do like them for the long term, and it looks like even for the short term, we might see a bounce back up. They do have a couple resistance levels that I plotted out on the chart. The next major resistance level would be right around $30. So just keep that on your radar. And then we also have to go over the momentum plays and member of the day. So today's member of the day is Navy Girl. So huge shout out, Navy. You're pretty active in the chat and just look like you're posting a bunch of great information. So huge shout out to you. Thank you so much for your activity in the StockedUp Discord. We really appreciate it. But with that being said, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have BABA to the downside. So we saw a lot of Chinese stocks really take a beating today. Like even Baidu really just got killed. Really, it was down about 14.5%. When its highs were around $354. Right now, it actually hit $200 today. So it's not a good sign. So back to BABA. Anyways, we are looking at this one for a potential day trade to the downside tomorrow if they can break right below that $22 level. With the next one, we have SHOP or Shopify, also to the downside, and we are waiting for this one to break below around $1,050. And then we have Palantir to the upside, and then the next major resistance for it to break would be right around 23, you can say. If you want to get in early, it could be like $22.80, but the main level would be $23. So basically, we are waiting for Palantir to break above that level for a potential day trade to the upside, and then we are waiting for BABA and Shopify to break below their levels for a potential continuation for the downside tomorrow. All three of these are potential day trades. And if you guys want to trade with Tom and I every single day, day trades, swing trades, and access to our bots, click the first link in the description down below. We had a pretty solid swing trade with Apple yesterday. We actually had puts called out right before close, and we closed these puts earlier this morning. It was basically a near perfect exit on the puts. They were about a 30% return. But like I said, day trades, swing trades, and access to our bots. The first link in the description down below for about $40 off. But let's get right into the $1.2 million trade for next Friday. We all know bank stocks have just been doing amazing over the past couple months, and Morgan Stanley was one of those stocks that just had an amazing recovery. In the past year, they went from about lows of about $31 to highs of $86.64. Right now, it's sitting right around $80. And I saw a pretty unusual options activity on this one. It is for next week, so it's April 1st, and it is the 80 strike calls. There was a lot of money put into these. It looks like they're picking them up at a perfect time, which is great to see. So just keep your eye on MS. It does look like a good setup for the upside, so I really wouldn't be surprised if we do see this stock rally. Like I said, there was about $1.2 million put into it. It's at the money calls that expire next week, so most people would say that is a bullish sign. But with that being said, let's get right into the questions from the previous episode. With the first question, we have Piper saying, can you guys give your thoughts on MRVL for a 5G play for the short term and the long term? So if we take a look at this one, it has resistance right around $55.70. For the short term, I think the best way to go would be a cash secured put. If we look at their chain, their premiums are good. They're not great. Their IVs are around 52%. So, if you like it for the long term, I would probably go with like the April 16th expirations, maybe like the 42 strike puts. I think that could be a total win-win situation. I do like this stock for the long term. Their chart looks pretty good. Some other 5G ones that are pretty good would be Qualcomm and then Verizon too. So it really doesn't hurt to diversify. But to answer your question, I do like it for the long term. And for the short term, I think the best way to go would be a cash secured put. With the next question, we have Hunter saying, tech stocks are getting a thorough goosing. They are. They definitely are. We've been seeing a big rotation from tech stocks into value stocks. And we can just tell this, like especially today, is if we look at the NASDAQ, it is down around 0.17% today. So it's not too bad, but if we look at the Dow, it's up around 0.65%. And the Dow actually had some great movers today, like Boeing, American Express. Another one was TRV, and then I want to look at CAT, which is near all-time highs, and then Home Depot. So a lot of these value stocks that everyone has been overlooking have really just been exploding in the background, and they're not getting too much attention, but that's really why we're seeing the Dow pop. it is good to see, and I think that this transition is going to humble a lot of traders because ever since last March, everyone would just load up on calls on Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla, and it has worked out great, right? But that type of market environment can't last forever, and we're starting to see a slow transition from tech stocks into value stocks. I'm a huge fan of tech stocks for the long term, but it's just kind of one of those natural rotations, and it's important to be aware of that. With the next question, we have Dan saying, "Love your show. I watch every day." And then he asked, "Uber looks good, and it looks like it's going to move to the upside soon. What do you think?" So let's take a look at this one. It does look pretty good, actually. We have a ascending support line, which is pretty good. I'm going to draw this on the chart for everyone. Like, if we go like right here, we can see how it bounced off support many times. And I think it is good for the long term. Cash secured puts can be a total win-win. But even if you just did calls, I think that looks pretty good too. A lot of it will be influenced on how the overall market reacts in the next couple days. But with all that being said, I do like the setup. With the next question, we have E saying, "My question is in regards to Tilray and APHA." So we have two MJ stocks right here. And then he said, with the bill agreement for the New York legalization, Tilray/APHA popped off and was green for all of 10 minutes before ending at daily lows. Do you think the market is waiting for the bill to be signed next week for the bounce back up? So yes, and another thing to be aware of is, especially with MJ stocks, a lot of hype is priced in, you can say. And a perfect example would actually be with CCIV or Lucid. So there was a ton of hype into this SPAC before like the Lucid deal was released, and once it was finally released, we saw the stock tank. Marijuana stocks are similar in certain ways where there's a lot of hype kind of built into them. So sometimes even if some great news comes out, the stock can already have that priced in, and you could actually see the stock fall on some great news. With that being said, I'm a huge fan of MJ stocks for the long term, and even the MJ ETF has just been doing amazing. In the past year, went from lows of around $10 to highs of $34.58. If we look at a long-term chart, it also looks to be doing okay, but overall, I'm just a huge fan of this sector for the long term. I do like APHA and CGC. Those are my two favorites. With the next question, we have Jack Tastic saying, "Thanks guys, as always. It appears that FSLY is approaching the $60 level yet again." He said, "If it breaks 57, what can it go down to?" So basically, it has a pretty strong support around that $60 level. If it breaks 57, it looks like the next major support will be at $50, and we could even touch like 45. So definitely keep that on your radar. And speaking of FSLY, I'm also a pretty big fan of ZM or Zoom for the long term. They're kind of just like lingering right around support at $300. So I like them for the long term here, and they have some pretty high premium, so this can also be a pretty good setup for the long term. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you want to trade with Tom and I every single day, daily day trades, swing trades, and access to our bots every single day, you can click the first link in the description down below for about $40 off. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe. Other than that, thanks for watching.